Hi, I'm Arman. I'm the founder of Sleepy Owl Coffee.
एक मिनट रुक जाओ, रेडी होने दो. चलो ये कर लेते हैं. This could be a great intro.
We have all heard the stories of a bunch of kids launching a startup while still in college. And while these stories make for good headlines, we rarely get to hear about the long journey to scale that happened behind the scenes that made them an overnight success. A great example of this is the story of Sleepy Owl. Arman Sood, the co-founder of Sleepy Owl, was constantly in search of a grand entrepreneurial idea while in college. And after a bunch of experiments during college, he finally ended up solving for the problem of good quality coffee at home. He saw the gap between a 300 rupee Starbucks coffee and a 5 rupee sachet coffee at home and started Sleepy Owl to make good quality coffee available at home to coffee lovers. Today, Sleepy Owl is among the leading D2C coffee brands in India. But thanks to the pandemic tailwinds, as more people are looking for good coffee at home. And they just raised $6.5 million from some top-notch VCs. Here's Arman narrating his roller coaster journey to Akshay Dutt.
So Ashwini landed up in Bombay. I had my job. We were staying together, and we went back to a sort of brainstorming process of, okay, what's the problem? What is it that we can fix, right? And at the same time, we understood very clearly that whatever it is that we want to fix, we have to be interested in it, enthusiastic about it, passionate about it, to actually be able to fix it and enjoy fixing it, right? So our way of coming up with that idea was that look at our personalities and what we enjoy doing. So we both love cooking, love eating, love drinking, ran a beer accessory business before that. So we knew that there's a great inclination towards F&B or F&B consumer products, right? And even fitness. So whether it was we were looking at options like meal planning, meal delivery at that time wasn't very big the way it is today. So we said, okay, healthy food delivered. Healthy condiments was another idea that we were exploring. So while we were on this journey, and like I told you, Ashwajit's someone who is very well read on the internet, right? So I think his research and kind of took him to coffee, and we were at that time we didn't realize it, but he was a black coffee drinker who'd brew coffee in a French press, and I was a person who'd sort of whether it's instant coffee or vending machine coffee, occasional milk-based coffee at a cafe, but I was never on the same page with him when it came to coffee. We were, but he started researching coffee, and then he was like, okay, there is, it's an exciting space, and we would actually work out of the Starbucks because, I would go to office, he'd be at the Starbucks, and I'd take a lunch break and go and meet him at Starbucks, right? And that's where we were like, okay, the CCD near my office or the Starbucks where I would go to visit him, you'd average a bill of 250 rupees for a cup of coffee. Of course you're also getting the work experience, but there was no comparison between you spend. I mean, if you were to look at the other options available for in-home consumption at that point in time, they're very limited, right? So I think when we identified this. We dropped all the other ideas that we were working on, whether it was the meal planning or the, and trust me when I say we're working on, for most of those other ideas, we had logos, we had started working on a supply chain, we kind of put everything on the back burner and we started going deeper into coffee. And on that research, we came across cold brew coffee, right? And at that point in time, there wasn't a single company in India or a startup that was doing anything related to cold brew coffee. We'd identified that there were some, young companies that had already started buying coffee beans and roasting them and giving them to the Indian consumer. But we realized very early on that that's a chore or it requires effort.
Yeah, you need a mocha pot or a French press.
Absolutely. And that is something that we, will not be particularly, it's not there for our lifestyle, right? Maybe, at a later age or at a later point in time, I'd want to learn and get into that. But there's a large part of India that doesn't know. And educating the consumer about that would be extremely difficult, right? and we didn't want to get down that path. That's when Ashwajit shared the idea with Ajay as well and said, okay, what's the coffee scene like in New York and in the US? And, very easily and very quickly, Ajay validated that it is a space that is extremely exciting, and that it's blowing up. And if things, if things were to move east, India will also be at the brink of an explosion when it comes to coffee. So that's when the three of us, took a one-way ticket to Chikmagalur, and actually started educating ourselves about coffee.
Ajay came down to India.
Yes. He was back in India by then. He was exploring options with other startups, in finance, in, other areas. But I think, he was fairly excited about this as well. And, for us, it was also an easy discussion in terms of Ashrit and I together were a disaster, proven disaster. So he said it would be great to have, a third friend, confidant, somebody who, brings a different skill set to the table altogether, so that we don't repeat our mistake. And, I think it was a fairly easy decision to make.
If you like to hear stories of founders, then we have tons of great stories from entrepreneurs who have built billion-dollar businesses. Just search for the Founder Thesis podcast on any audio streaming app like Spotify, Gaana, Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to the show.
So when you took that one-way ticket to Chikmagalur, did you quit your job and do that?
I quit my job by then. So I remember Ashwajit and I had actually come for a small trip to Kolkata in December to announce to my parents that, so Ajay had already quit, Ashwajit had already quit. I was the only one left to quit my job, right? So it was in December that I told my parents that, listen, we have an idea. It's cold brew coffee. This is what it is. Had a sort of mock, I wouldn't even call it a business plan. It was just a presentation with, what this is. And at that time, our idea was that we'll set up a bicycle cart that sells cold brew, and we'll put it up in high street locations. But yeah, at that time, like I said, we are not, we didn't have any background in F&B or FMCG or coffee for that matter, right? So the idea to go to Chikmagalur was to understand the supply chain of what would be our most important raw material, right? Without which there was no business to be had, right?
This was like the Alibaba phase.
Absolutely. So we ended up there. We were, we acknowledged to ourselves and to the people we were meeting that we know nothing and that we would like to learn, and I think that that's very important, because if you pretend to know it all, it doesn't get you anywhere, right? So we were clear about the fact that, हमें नहीं पता और हमें सीखना है, right? And armed with that, we met a few very, very interesting people who, took out a pen and a paper and they drew for us every facet of the coffee supply chain and how it works and so on and so forth. Whether or not we buy from them or not was secondary, but they taught us, right? And of course, most conversations which ended with we need 5 kgs of coffee or 10 kgs of coffee were like, what's wrong with you guys?
Why is that? This is too small a quantity for them?
Yeah, I mean, it's it is. It's too small a quantity.
And what did you learn about how coffee supply chain works?
At that stage, we weren't aware of coffee being a green color bean, or let's say it even starts with a coffee cherry that is actually harvested. And then there are certain processes to take it to the green coffee bean level. From that, it's roasted, and each roast is different, and then it's ground. And there are different, gazillion different grind sizes, and then how it's packed, how it's stored, what time of the year you have to source it, how you book your thing, how different coffees grown in different plantations could give you different tastes, So while we were parallelly researching on the internet, it was amazing to hear it from the horse's mouth as well, right? So all of this, we learned all of this, at a more deeper level than just reading about it online.
And for cold brew, what do you need? What kind of grind, what kind of roast?
When we went to the supplier to announce to them that हमें ये चाहिए, अब हमें वो कैसे पता कि हमें ये चाहिए, right? So we were actually, researching online and going on Reddit. And on Reddit, we actually found a lot of cold brew coffee communities and enthusiasts, right? That were actually distilling the tips of how to make the world's best cold brew, right? And we also wrote to a couple of startups asking them for, their opinion, their thoughts, and, and we got that information from them as well, because people were very open to sharing, right? So for cold brew coffee, you essentially need 100% Arabica coffee that is coarse ground, not fine, not medium, but coarse ground, right? And that coffee is added to water in a certain ratio. You can play around with that. And then it has to be filtered after you brew it overnight.
And you don't use hot water with it. You do it through cold water. Like
You use room temperature or cold water, right? So we understood that we needed great coffee.
what are the types here?
So there are two main types, Arabica and Robusta. Arabica is a variety that is grown at a much higher altitude. It is more susceptible to pests, which is why it's difficult to grow. It's considered more premium in quality and has a much better taste.
What do you mean better taste? Like less bitter or what?
Yes, Arabica is less bitter, and in Arabica you usually get more notes of the origin of the coffee compared to Robusta, right? In fact, Robusta is much cheaper, hence also considered inferior, right? And it's much easier to grow and therefore grown more. So yeah, so it was 100% Arabica is what we needed. It needed to be coarse ground because a coarse ground coffee extracts slowly, right? And the whole purpose of cold brewing is to brew it slowly with cold water, not quickly with hot water. You needed very good water because coffee is ultimately 95% water, right? So for us, the secret sauce there was Bisleri. And then you need to be able to filter the coffee grounds from the decoction, and that filter could be done with stainless steel mesh. It could be done with paper. It could be done with cloth. So there are multiple ways to do it. So we spent a lot of time trying to figure out what is the best way to filter, and we finally finalized on a unbleached muslin cloth. So we actually went to a fabric shop, got the fabric, got them to design it in the size and shape of our bucket, and we started making multiple. And this is after we came back from Chikmagalur when we got our first couple of kgs of samples. And every time we encountered struggles or difficulties, you'd go back to Reddit or you'd send emails to the supportive global community of entrepreneurs who are happy to share. We managed to crack a recipe that we thought tasted great. I don't think there was anyone other than the three of us who said, okay, does it taste good or not? But we tasted enough to know that this is good and this is not, right? With that, we decided that we're ready to launch.
And this was like in your Bombay flat only that you were using.
By then, we were back in Delhi, in Dwarka, in Ashwajit's family. Like they have a house in Dwarka which was empty, and we used that as our factory and office and where we were living as well, right? So all the experiments happened there.
And so you had like this big plastic buckets in which you were doing the brewing.
Yes. So this was around Jan and Feb, and we'd given ourselves an artificial deadline that by 15th March, we want to launch our business. The more time we spend and we don't put deadlines to it, we won't be able to do it. And 15th March, Jindal was having its annual sports fest. So we managed to book ourselves a free stall to set up a stall and serve coffee. So we said, by 15th, we should have everything up and running. So we got our branding, our design, our sort of event cart, which will be our station to, make it. Come hail, come storm. On 15th March, we were at Jindal. We set up a stall. We had bought 1 liter glass bottles in which we filled this black liquid, essentially. So we went back and we were serving only 3 drinks for those 3 days. So a standard black cold brew, which we call the smooth black cold brew because it's very smooth. An iced coffee, which is a cold brew plus milk, and a Vietnamese coffee, which is cold brew plus condensed milk. Just 3 drinks.
And these were sugar-free. I think typically cold brew is had without sugar, right?
Black is without sugar. For the iced coffee, which is cold brew plus milk, we gave the option to add sugar syrup. And for the third one was Vietnamese coffee.
There's sugar is in the condensed milk.
Right.
And you were giving this free or you were selling?
We were selling it. So it was, I think, 150, 170, 200, the price points. And big glasses, branded glasses with, plastic glasses with a sticker because you couldn't print on glasses. So we filled all the bottles of cold brew in Dwarka. We bought a big ice box from Neel Kamal. We organized a barafwala in Sonipat to come. Everything that, needed to put this together. And it was our university. It was our friends. It was, and we managed to sell enough of it, and people actually enjoyed even the black cold brew. So that gave us the validation that okay, this is something, and like this is exciting, and we can do it. And I think one of the first ideas at that point in time would be, what for us was, let's do B2B. Let's take this 1 liter cold brew and go and give it to restaurants and add Sleepy Owl cold brew on their menus as an add-on beverage, right? So we went, and there were we had about 3 or 4 restaurants who added us on. But the first restaurant that added us on, we were just one of the items on their extended beverage menu, and 30 days, which is the shelf life of the product, went by, and we'd sold 1 liter out of the 6 that we decided was the MOQ to give any restaurant, and it just didn't move, and this is early April, where we said, listen, this is not going to work, mid-April actually, right after March university event. Within 1 month, we're like, this is not going to work because it's too long drawn a process, and no one will get educated or learn about Sleepy Owl. There's no discovery happening, and we said we have to pivot. We can't do this. This is not going to work. We have to sell online, and we have to sell it to the consumers directly, who can buy from us, and we'll deliver it to them. But actually transporting and shipping glass and a 1 liter bottle of glass was not possible. So we spoke to friends, family, looked at alternative packaging options, and nothing seemed likely. Nothing seemed like doable. But because we had let's say expertise importing from China, and we were researching different possible packaging options, we came across this solution called a bag-in-box solution, right? So a bag-in-box is how usually wine is packaged in the US. It's one of the formats common for wine packaging, where you have a plastic bag with a tap, and you put it in a box, and you pull out the tap, and you can dispense liquid. So we said, oh, this is great, So we found a supplier in China, ordered 1,000 1.5 liter packets, found a box manufacturer in West Delhi who designed the box for us, and gave ourselves another artificial deadline. By mid-June, we should launch this on our website. So between April, May, and June, the China piece, the India piece, all of it was put together. And on 14th June 2016 was when our e-commerce website went live with one SKU, which was a 1.5 liter box, right? And we did the same thing that we did the last time, which is simple black cold brew, ready to drink black cold brew. And we spammed everyone in the world that we knew, we started, got the ball rolling.
Did you do the whole writing to newspapers, magazines?
Not as much newspapers and magazines, but now it was the stage of online blogs and discovery platforms like Little Black Book, So Delhi, so on and so forth, right? It picked up, and we knew in our heads that if we can sell 1,000 units, which is what we'd ordered, we are on to something, and that sold pretty quickly.
You were still doing this at your home only, the manufacturing?
Yes, absolutely, at home. So manufacturing, packing, getting it ready for courier pickups. If courier partners did not show up at the door, we would drive around NCR delivering it ourselves. Yeah, so it was phenomenally jugadu.
You focused the launch on NCR
because it's a 1.5 liter box, which essentially for courier comes in the 2 kg bracket. It also requires not constant refrigeration, but if you're couriering it to any other city, it takes 3 to 4 days of being outside the fridge, and the coffee gets sour. So we focused on Delhi NCR only, and we were doing it by courier, even within Delhi NCR. But within 5 months or 4 months of doing this, we said that, listen, we have to hire a delivery boy on a bike who can deliver it faster and keep it fresher. And courier is not the way. And if we are hiring a delivery boy and one person for production, right, to do the production side of it, if we have these 2 employees, we have to move out of the house. We can't continue in the house. And we were in Dwarka, which is not very centrally located. So 2 of the restaurants that we were supplying to were actually in a place called Shapurjat in Delhi. So because we would go there to deliver to them ourselves, we discovered the neighborhood, and we actually took up our first office space there in Shapurjat. And as crazy as it is, 5 years on today, we are still in a different location in Shapurjat where our office is. So while Ashrit and Ajay were living in Dwarka for a significant period of time, I actually moved to the building beside our office because there was no other way to, couldn't do a 2-hour commute. Yeah. And by then our roles were defined, so it was Ajay is looking at finance and investor relations and team building and strategy.
You started doing fundraise around that time?
No, we just divided our roles, that anything finance, business development, team building, investor relations will be Ajay. Anything photography, website, e-commerce, design, social media is Ashujit. And supply chain, operations, packaging, warehousing will all be me. So that's how we sort of divided our roles. And, the three of us, along with these two employees, we kickstarted. The next couple of hires were riders. As the business grew, we had to go from one rider to 2 to 3. And, that realization also, was more like suddenly, orders started picking up and I would start delivering them myself to maintain our delivery tat. After Ajay saw me doing it for 2 or 3 days and he's like, listen, this is not the way to do business, because if you deliver, your time is more valuable than, let's say, the riders for delivery, right? Like, I mean, that's what they do. This is what you do. So he's like, he set a rule saying that Arman will not deliver. And now I had to figure out, how to hire the next 1 or 2 riders to make sure that, the team is built and we continue to optimize for that.
Which month did you move to Shapurjat?
So June, July we launched. I think October, November we moved to Shapurjat. March, which is the next summer. So we had a terrible winter. December, Jan, Feb was terrible. So by February, March, we started Instagram and Facebook advertising, right? So we started spending money on acquisition, and that's what it helped us take off a little bit. And that's when March was when I suddenly was like, okay, we need riders. We need a team to fulfill this.
How much were you doing monthly, like, by that time?
1.5, 2, so the launch month, June, July, August was upwards of 2. And then September, October, November, December, Jan, Feb was like bordering between 1 and 2. By March, we were, up to like 3, 4. And, in December, we'd actually met a investment banker who we said, listen, can you take our mandate and, pitch Sleepy Owl to investors? And he's like, yeah, you guys are at 1 lakh per month. I can't pitch you to anybody. He said, and he gave us an arbitrary number. He said, you reach 10 per month and I'll take your mandate and introduce you to investors. So we said, okay, we have to do 10 and we have to do 10 by June 17. So March, April, May, June, we were very, very, very aggressive. And we were at 10 on June 17. Just within Delhi NCR. We activated a few retail stores, which is, we see the good thing is we had online data, right? We knew where our customers in Delhi were. So armed with that data, we said, okay, Horse Cars, Defense Colony, Galleria, Gurgaon, so on and so forth. So instead of going, we went to the modern bazaars of the world, but it wasn't very easy, to go into a modern bazaar, etc. So we first targeted independent stores. So we managed to actually list our product in about 30 to 40 single shop stores, and sales was done ourselves. So Ajay and I took the responsibility for offline sales. Ashuji took the responsibility for online sales. And offline was categorized as modern trade, general trade stores and restaurants and cafes, because our restaurant cafe, as much as we thought it won't work, it picked up as well. So we were effectively omni-channel. So that number 10 I'm talking about was a mix of online, retail, B2B, all three together.
Which had the lion's share in this?
Online. And yeah, so we went back to this gentleman and he said, yeah, I'll take your mandate. And he started introducing us to a lot of folks. We were also fortunate that in between 16, 17, between June to June, we had a lot of inbound interest from investors as well. Because it was a very, very new category. The brand presented itself well, to the world, and the product was, delicious. And I am not, I don't say that with any arrogance. I say that with pride because it was very tasty. It was something we developed that was tasty and people liked it. Naturally word got around, right? And this is something Ashwajit had always told me. He said, Arman, coffee is something that if people like it, you will really talk about it to your peers, friend circle, group. So he's like, it'll market itself.
Yeah, it's something people are passionate about.
So yeah, we started by I think June, July. We started our fundraising process and meeting people, and we actually closed our first round of funding from DSG Consumer Partners around February 18. It was a good 6-month process where we had to maintain those numbers, continue to grow, continue to perform. I think we decided on DSG, led by Deepak Shadarpuri.
DSG, of course, is like renowned for D2C sector.
Absolutely, D2C food and beverage, especially, and they backed Raw Pressery, Epigamia, Viva, Sula, and for us it was a no-brainer to sort of welcome them into the Sleepy Owl family. And I think it was one of the better decisions we made because they've been fantastic partners for the last 3.5, 4 years, and had our back and continue to do so.
How much did you raise, like that first raise in Feb 18?
3.5 crores. So that capital was not meant only to scale our existing product, right? So we had grand plans, we had grand ideas. We wanted to get into the ready-to-drink space, right, which was dominated by Nestle and let's say Starbucks, right, on the retail shelf. So that was where we wanted to go. So the funding was not to only scale our current business; it was also to invest in the brand introducing its ready-to-drink offerings and whatever else that the three of us could dream about, right? So the moment the funding came, we started working on the development of the RTD, ready-to-drink. So like a ready-to-drink off-the-shelf product. So we were India's first and are probably even now one of India's only ready-to-drink cold brew coffees on the retail shelf, right? And it was a phenomenal experience figuring out how to crack that product, make sure it's preservative-free, make sure it's low in sugar, make sure that cold brew is how it's made, not with powder or skim milk powder or coffee powder. It's made with real milk, real coffee, low sugar, and in 2019, I think we launched the ready-to-drink in the market.
This is like in a bottle or in a Tetra Pak? Or?
It's in a bottle. It's in a glass bottle. So we work with a co-packer, for the production of this. We didn't set up our own facility or plant for this. So that's kind of how we decided that would be the next big category to do. Simultaneously, our cold brew, which was only in NCR, we had to find a way to scale it pan-India and, reach out to new consumers. So we went back to fundamentals, which is what is a cold brew? It's great quality coffee that is filtered by adding cold water, right? So we actually took, coffee that was put in a big filter. So each filter bag, which is big, has about 45 to 50 grams of coffee. And a person adds half a liter of water, brews it overnight, and can make a cup anywhere, right? So essentially then what we were selling was dry ground coffee. But our innovation was to put that ground coffee in a pre-packed filter bag, right? We were India's first brand to do that. Today we have a lot more, fellow brands that are doing the same product. And that launched before the ready to drink. So mid 18 to, now it's been 3 years of that product. And, I think we spent the last 5 years educating consumers, and our growth has been slow and steady. Because this product and this category requires a lot of consumer education.
What was the difference in price now? For one is that when you were selling a 1.5 liter.
So we used to sell 1.5 liter bag and box for 600. It used to make 10 cups. So each cup cost 60 rupees effectively, right? When we shifted to this product, each sachet or each filter bag or we give it a name which is trademarked called Brew Pack. Right, so each brew pack, makes 3 cups of coffee and is priced at 100 rupees. So it's 30 rupees a cup, effectively. But it comes in a box of 5, so you have to buy 500 rupees worth and 15 cups worth of coffee. But you can brew 3 cups at a time. So effectively the per cup cost went down to 30 bucks, right? And it was easier to transport, easier to ship. So that's how we managed to open up a pan-India audience. and also managed to list on other marketplaces, right? Amazon opened up, Big Basket opened up, so on and so forth. For the other product, which was the bag and box, it had limited sort of scale that we could give to it.
Yeah. Did you discontinue that then?
No, it was available, but only in NCR. It is still available only in NCR, but it's taken a bit of a backseat, to be honest, because it's not the most scalable. But what I can tell you is that we still have hundreds of loyal customers who have been buying this from 16, 17 till today, and still only consume that. So that's. I don't think we can ever discontinue it. It will lead to a lot of trouble.
And the bottle.
The bottle. See, the bottle is 100 rupee MRP. It's a 200 ml ready to drink cold brew cold coffee. This product was primarily meant for modern trade and general trade, right? So it was meant to be a product that is available on the retail shelf. So till pandemic, we didn't sell it online. It was only available in stores.
And pan India?
No. Only Delhi NCR. And then the second city we expanded to was Mumbai. So to go on to explain a bit of the business side of this, right? Listing products and in modern trade and general trade, whether it's one city or pan India, is no easy feat, right? It takes a lot of time and effort to identify what is the kind of store where this product will find its customer, right? Because आपको shelf पे लगाना बहुत आसान है, shelf से उठाना बहुत मुश्किल है, right? So you can't actually take any product and say I will do it pan India, because you have to build your market, right? So in NCR, first we did the 50, 100 odd stores where we were already there, right? Then we gradually expanded to 200, 300, 400. Today we are in 1,000 plus stores, but it's been very slowly, you identify, you learn, you grow, right? Because the 80-20 rule will always apply. 80% of your business will come from 20% of your stores. The others are just there. It's there, good to be there. So we identified Bombay as the second city where we want to go, and we set up a team and we expanded in retail stores in Bombay. It is only now, after 3 years, that we are expanding to other cities. Because it takes a lot of capital to build teams and build distributors and get product placed and moved, right? The challenge is always the moving part. No business or no brand wants to deal with returns or expiries, right? So if I want, in the next 30 days, we can be available pan India in 10,000 stores, right? But imagine someone in Kerala walks into a store and sees the product but has never heard of it before, or doesn't have an understanding of what it is, or there's no, or the store owner has no relationship with me and my sales officers, right? That product will not succeed, right? So it has to be something that is done slowly and steadily and strategically.
Mm-hmm. You need to first build demand through marketing and maybe social media marketing and stuff like that, and then
even on ground promotions, have promoters, have incentives. Yes, wet sampling, dry sampling, so on and so forth. And it is a long drawn procedure. But once the pandemic, came upon us, we started selling the ready to drink glass bottles online, and we developed a special packaging for it that results in no breakage, and it's doing well online as well.
2020, what kind of turnover were you doing, like pre-pandemic, like say around Feb, March, like that year, that financial year 1920? How much did you close at?
At that time, it was around the 8 to 9 CR mark.
And what was the split in terms of offline, online, restaurants?
I think at that time it was about 60% online, 30% offline, and 10% B2B. Gifting, restaurants, Horeca, all of that. It was a small part. But there's another product that we did around December 2019. It was a hot brew coffee.
To kind of fill up the winter months, because winter your demand would have otherwise fallen.
Absolutely. And it was our customers also who said, listen, aap cold brew bech rahe ho, but we enjoy hot coffee, and Sleepy Owl doesn't do a hot coffee in its traditional sense, right? So we launched, for us, our biggest USP and differentiator is convenience, right? We make drinking great coffee convenient without equipment in an easy to consume format, right? So we knew if we do hot coffee, we have to do it in a way that is convenient for the customer as well. So we actually took coffee and put it in a tea bag. where a customer can add a coffee bag to their glass, add hot water, and dip it, right? When we decided to do this, there was a big question as to, yeah, no one's ever done this. Maybe it's not possible, right? Otherwise, it's so simple. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Exactly. When tea is done like that, then why not coffee?
Yeah. So we were India's first brand, and or maybe one of the first brands in Asia to sort of do this sort of a solution.
But why doesn't everyone do it? Like that's a fairly obvious question to ask.
It's not very easy to do because the traditional tea bag usually fills about 2 to 3 grams of tea. We put about 10 grams of coffee in the bag, right? So to do that, you need to optimize your machinery, understand all of that. So it wasn't an easy. It was easy idea, but it wasn't easy to execute. It was really tough to execute. But once executed, it felt like a no-brainer, right? So that product now is more than 50% of our business.
Wow. That's again 100 rupees for a...
No, that's 30 rupees a sachet. Yeah, that's a flat 30 rupees per cup.
If you want to have it with milk or something, then like you boil milk and water together and then leave it in that.
No, you have to brew it in water and then you can add milk over it.
And how much time does it take, the brewing process?
About 4 to 5 minutes. But again, it depends on, customer to customer. You can keep it longer.
So when the lockdown hit you, then how did you respond to that? And what happened to the sales after that?
When the lockdown hit us, first we were obviously, like everybody else, unsure, skeptical, taken aback, but being, in F&B, right? And our product being categorized as a necessity, let's say, nothing changed. In fact, we were geared up to do more, do better. When all the cafes around us shut down, people resorted to buying their coffee, tea, everything online. So we actually witnessed a surge in demand, and we had to scramble together to cater to that surge. It was, we were playing catch up. I think, all the effort of the 3 years prior to the pandemic came to life, came together, and Sleepy Owl became the go-to coffee for home consumption.
Oh, yeah. That whole trend of work from home would have really benefited you because now you don't have like a coffee dispenser in your office. So you need products like this. And so what is your this year's turnover going to be?
It's undisclosed, but I think we're trying to do upwards of 30 CR.
Wow. So you're like 3x.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's shaping up to maybe even turn out better than that.
And what is the split now? Like how much comes from online, how much from offline? And
now it's a 50-50. Yeah. And we refer to online as a mix of marketplaces plus online, and offline as offline retail plus B2B Horeca.
And how much is cold brew and how much is hot between the product lines? And how much is ready to drink?
So ready to drink gets categorized as cold brew for us. So it's again about 55-45. Hot brew is 55, 45 is the rest.
And so what is your headcount like now, and how do you manufacture? Like, is it still like one central office within which you have manufacturing also?
No. So we are 130 people in the organization. This spans across manufacturing, operations, delivery staff, core team, admin, everyone included. Our manufacturing unit is in Okhla, where we manufacture all of the products except the ready to drink. And our office is in Shahpurjat itself.
How did you figure out setting up a plant, so to say? Because, I mean, none of you have that experience.
On a serious note, it involved a lot of, to be honest, by now, right, and with investors like DSG, with other people in the ecosystem around us, most things are now a phone call away, right? So if you want to do something and you encounter a roadblock, you can pick up the phone and get an answer or a workaround, right? It helps us cut a few steps that way. But yeah, a lot of things through research. We also have a professional QA QC, a professional production manager, a professional fulfillment manager, and all of this sort of helps us now. They come with their own knowledge and expertise, etc. as well, right?
Tell me about that whole manufacturing setup. Like, how did you decide that this is going to be our process and these are the machines we need? And how did you build that whole thing up?
So it's all happened, gradually, right? Like, it's not key overnight we have everything. So when we launched our cold brew, we had a machine for the cold brew, right? We set up a process to sort of, a process flow around from coffee to packaging material to raw material, how it comes together, how it's packaged, where the finished goods are stored. When we launched the hot brew, it was a separate machine that requires to pack that product. For the RTD, ready to drink, it's mostly a warehousing aspect where we pick it up from the co-packer, warehouse it, and we sell it, right? So yeah, I mean, it's not it's a fairly simple supply chain, not rocket science to develop. And I think over the last 5 years, we've also learned how to go about structuring and executing it. And there are still gaps that need to be filled, and we're continuously working towards it and improving it. But we improved our team, let's say, because let's say 2.5 years ago, there was one person responsible for production and dispatch, right? Today, we've learned that you need to have a separate person who's responsible for production, a separate person who's responsible for dispatch. So those are the things that we've learned as you scale, right? At a small scale, it was okay for one person to do both things, but as the scale has grown, they're two very different functions. So this is something we didn't know, right? We figured it out during our interview process for candidates, right? So candidates themselves tell you, okay, this is what we do, this is what I don't do, this is what this person does. So you get to learn about how other organizations are structured during. So we pay a lot of emphasis to hiring and interviewing, because we learn a lot from that process as well.
And so you raised that first 500K way back in 2018. So since then, have you raised more funds?
So right before the pandemic, we raised an undisclosed round from Rukam Capital. And Rukam Capital joined us on the journey at that point in time. And last 2 years, during the pandemic, they've been a part of our journey. And this year, as of last week, Rukam Capital, DSG, and a few other investors have, helped us close our Series A round of $6.5 million, which is our biggest round to date. And we're excited to, use this wisely to accelerate our growth and, become more of a household name in the country.
What do you see as your product portfolio going forward? Like, say, by 2025, what do you see as where do you see Sleepy Owl?
By 2025, which is another 3 years, right? So we, today we are considered a mass premium brand, right? Or let's say even premium, because we don't have the traditional coffee in our portfolio, right? But we plan to stick to our ethos of convenience and create coffee products that are extremely convenient. And therefore, we are very soon doing our version of a premium instant coffee. We're doing our version of a plant-based, ready-to-drink coffee with oat milk and almond milk, so on and so forth, right? We intend to be at the forefront of coffee innovation in the country. We want to be the brand that is, taking bold risks when it comes to introducing products, and at the same time doing traditional products, but giving it the Sleepy Owl twist, the Sleepy Owl taste, the Sleepy Owl charm, the Sleepy Owl, feel to it.
How big is the coffee market in India, and how big do you see Sleepy Owl getting?
Those numbers, we don't usually look at those numbers as metrics to track, because the coffee market is quite fragmented. In terms of, there's a cafe market, there's a vending machine market, there's a retail market, there's and we've created a category, so we've created a new market. So if you were to ask 5 years back for a market research, no one would have anticipated something like this, right? So I don't feel like any of those million or billion numbers really we pay too much attention to it. How big can Sleepy Owl get? Sky is the limit. I think Akshay, we are very, very bullish to in the next 18 months be 100 crore brand in revenue. And if we manage to do that sustainably and profitably, I think we will not shy away from going for the 2, 3, 500 crore mark either. And I guess once you're at that stage, then it can go onwards and onwards, because the market is going to continuously expand in the next 5 to 10 years, right? We're very, very, very early even now, right, in the inflection point for coffee. So yeah, we're not we're not holding ourselves to a number. We're just focused on building a solid experience for our customers with our products and taking it from there.
And do you see yourself getting into vending machine and all, like those kind of markets?
I believe that if we as a company exist maybe 10 years down the line, there'll be a lot of things that we will be doing, but I think everything has its time and place, and we need to be focused on one thing at a time, because otherwise nothing will succeed, right? So I think right now our focus is to be in direct to consumer and FMCG. First direct to consumer, second FMCG. Have good market share in these categories. Continue to be innovative in our approach to the category, and from there on, when the right time and the right opportunity arises, we will look at that as well. It doesn't make sense to we don't believe in doing the same thing that someone else is doing and putting your logo on it, right? That's not the right way. If we were to do vending machines, it will be something that even we haven't seen before. It has to be special. It has to be something unique, something that really makes a difference.
So tell me about your customer acquisition strategy for the online business. Like, is it largely driven through campaigns on social media, or because I guess for a D2C brand, that's what really makes it unique, how they build their audience online. And I mean, D2C brands are like digital native brands. So tell me about that whole digital strategy and building an audience online.
Goes without saying, Akshay, for us, Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, right, are significant customer acquisition channels, right? We have a in-house team. We also work with agencies, also work with freelancers who handle the performance marketing piece for us. Our social media and creative team is in-house, led by my co-founder Ashujit. He's been at the forefront of what the brand should look and feel like and how we should communicate. The performance marketing piece, it's varied over the years, right? At some point it was in-house, then outsourced, then freelancer. So we keep trying different things. But yeah, a significant chunk of money is spent on these channels to acquire customers.
Do you spend more on performance marketing or on building content?
On performance marketing. That's how it is, because for building content, we do it in-house. So we can churn out a lot of content, and performance marketing is it's a function of your revenue, right? Also, but it has to be closely worked on and optimized and improved. And we spend a lot of time and energy refining that, because that's the core. But we also keep a very close eye on our retention metrics, right? While we're acquiring new customers, there a lot is done to retain existing customers and give them delightful experiences to bring them back, right? Because you cannot mindlessly keep acquiring customers. You have to be equally focused on retaining customers. And as a brand, we're privileged and lucky to have a sort of natural retention because people enjoy the product, right? But there are people who forget or who drop off or who need to be brought back into the funnel. So we do a lot of email marketing activities around that, and a lot of other small little things that help us be sticky for our consumers, right? We also keep a keen eye towards increasing our average order value or our ticket size for purchases, right? And that is something that we keep optimizing for. So yeah, that's broadly how our digital works.
So this, what you're talking about, retention, average order value, would be your own site, right?
Yeah. This is only our own site.
How much of your online revenues from your own site and how much from marketplaces?
60%, 65% is from our website and 30% is from marketplaces. Yeah. Because we were, 16, 17, 18, 19 was our website only, right? It is only in the last 2 years where marketplaces have sort of again blown up, or you could also say we were late to the marketplace game. But the advantage is that, selling from your own website, we built a stronger brand, right? So yeah, there are pros and cons to both.
If you like the Founder Thesis podcast, then do check out our other shows on subjects like marketing, technology, career advice, books, and drama. Visit thepodium.in That is thepodium.in for a complete list of all our shows.